So up next, guys, we have a really, probably the most exciting thing that happens at Tech Field Day. We have sometimes had products introduced. For example, here at Data Robotics, we've had, Druva, we had products introduced. But occasionally we've had companies introduced. And Nimble Storage has gone on to pretty high heights after their introduction at our Seattle event. That was exciting for me to see, and it was really a validation of the importance that you guys play in the market. The fact that companies want to talk to you before they talk to other people means that they realize that you guys are going to get them launched, whereas the other guys are just going to have their hands out asking for your money to try to figure out a way to work off of them. So, and when I say the other guys, I mean the analysts. So here we are. And now we've got another new company. Now, I didn't mention the name of this company until basically this moment, because that's what we're doing here. We're introducing a new company. This is Druva. I believe that the Twitter is Druva with 2 A's. Is that correct?
It's Druva Inc. It's
oh, it's Druva Inc.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Druva with 2 A's links to you too.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Druva Inc. Okay. They have actually, they're not a new company. They've actually been around for a while, as you'll find out. They've got some really cool technology, but one of the things that I like about this company is that instead of just saying, we've got awesome technology, isn't this great, can't you find something to do with it? They actually tried to find something to do with their technology that's useful, and that useful thing is backup. So let's talk about that. Let's introduce Druva. This is Jaspreet Singh. He is, has a pretty good pedigree, and I think that you'll find that this is a pretty interesting and unique product. Once I heard about it, I said, wow, I really wish that this had existed, a few years ago, and I'm glad that it exists now.
Great, guys. I'm Jaspreet Singh, CEO of Druva, and with me is Milind, CTO Druva, and my team out here. So I'm the last guy between you and the beer, so I'll be quick. I have a small presentation. Not really big, and we take a deep dive into the product itself. So today I'll introduce Druva to you. I'll pitch the entire technology, and then quickly move to set up backup server right here and back some stuff here right now. So Druva actually means in Sanskrit the North Star, the pole star, and the philosophy is to be certain, to be there for the data, and the entire approach was disaster-ready solutions. So a bunch of guys, me, myself, I was 25 years old in Veritas, and I just, didn't like working in there and working for a group called Storage Foundation. I used to build a clustering file system for Veritas, and working for Milind. Milind was a senior technical director in Veritas. And then we quit the company about 2.5, 3 years back to build Druva. And the idea was to do disaster-ready solutions for enterprises. Now, the basic fact that being a startup and being, bootstrapping the company, we realized that technology, if built for medium to large server, is tough to sell, tough to pitch to large guys. So let's find out what's a key critical problem in the market and then apply the application there and make a really good job of something that is simple to sell. When we go into a sales call or, we go to a meeting, it should not be a sales enabler. It should be a sales killer. We should have something compelling so the competition doesn't have an answer. So I'm going to move my mouse in here just to... So Druva means the North Star. We founded about 3 years back and have a dual headquarters in India and Mountain View. And the three are founders, me, Milind, and Ramni. Ramni is now heading the CEO operation, and he was a partner concern with us. He was a partner concern with HP at Veritas. Funded by Sequoia Capital back in March. We bootstrapped the company all the way along, and we have 600 customers. The name includes the global account for PwC, Capitas, Schlumberger, Siemens, a lot of companies. And the basic fact is that if you search laptop backup, and just search laptop backup or PC backup, the amount of interaction you see in the customers talking about us and the first few URLs, you'll rarely see Google rating a company 2, 3, 4 times on the same first page, but they do for us. You search laptop backup and you say Druva, Druva, Druva. And that's where we are. We make it really simple and compelling for you to try something extraordinarily good and just go with it. So So today I'm going to talk about some real customer pain point. I'm not going to throw any analyst number. I'm not going to throw any big jargons here. Just simple customer pain points, what we have seen in this industry, problem with existing solutions, what is our completely fresh approach, why we differentiate and how we differentiate ourselves, and then we deep dive into a live demo, and then some customer results. The first 3 points may not take more than 15 minutes. I would like you to bear with me, and because of my passion or my excitement, I may get too fast in doing all these things. So ask questions, slow me down. I'm eager to take it up. So it's a big pain point. I don't need to tell any more about this. I think Curtis wrote a pretty good article on TechTarget recently about laptop backup FAQ, and it's clear that it's a big pain point. And the biggest pain point in laptop backup is the gap between the storage and the bandwidth. There was a 50 MB data 10 years back on a corporate laptop. It's about 10 GB average on a laptop. Although a friend of mine is using Chrome OS and there's no data. It's all going to cloud. But still, on an average American corporate user, there's about 10 GB of data. So if you see 100 users, it's about 10 GB each, and about 30 days of retention makes it 3 terabyte data for a small entity. So the 3 terabyte data moved around, pushed around, and being pushed to cloud isn't simple, because 1 terabyte download on T1 line takes about 4 weeks, right? So it's not simple, and I'm pretty sure you're thinking of deduplication here. So the idea is to make this problem really work for an endpoint and just make it really simple. So for the end user, we did a survey some time back, and the result was, the biggest problem on the end user side was the intrusion of the backup. And I think somebody just mentioned the Symantec got their laptop rebooted today morning because of some backup being happening. Yeah. So yeah, that's what exactly happens.
Is that why he rebooted his laptop?
I was told that. I don't know.
Seriously? Is that why? Does anybody know?
Oh, is that okay?
Oh, but you shut it down. Oh, it wasn't like he. Okay.
Okay, then my mistake probably.
No,
yeah.
it's okay.
Okay.
No, sorry.
So so the intrusion is the biggest problem. People don't do a backup, and then some people complain. 12% complain inefficiencies of doing a backup over WAN. And if you see the existing players in the market, there are rarely any solutions, enterprise solutions, to do a backup without a VPN connection. From their laptops to their enterprise servers. Now, how we, okay. So we see 3 different solutions in the market. The first one is the legacy backup players that come with a, something which is meant for tapes and all big enterprise mainframe servers, got tweaked for VTLs and got tweaked for smaller servers, and again got tweaked for PCs, and again got tweaked for laptops. Now, in this entire transition, where today we have 7% as iPad devices, they have lost their charm. The entire tweaking 9 p.m. backup, the first question people ask us is, can you schedule a backup in your software? We say, no, I don't know if I'm working 9 p.m. in the night. So the schedule, the basic simple fact like scheduling or server triggered backup, the server going and doing a backup, or backup being happening over Ethernet or anything, it does not work. So there was no 3G or Wi-Fi back then, so the backup has to be reinvented to make work for laptops, iPads, or whatever. The second solution we see in the market is a do-it-yourself cloud backup. It's a brilliant solution to have your data hosted, be backed up on the cloud. It's just the lack of control, the lack of entire control over what's get backed up, plus the 3 terabyte going up and down the cloud is what makes the biggest bottleneck of the cloud providers. And then come the standalone solutions of the backing up of a tape, backing up over a USB disk or whatever. And I think that again is like eating the right food, or I've been told by my wife to eat all the right food and not take beer, but here I am. So we tend to assume some stuff over end users. Some people are smart and they take care of the laptop, but some don't. So we end up being in a situation. So we took a fresh approach we could clearly see a market out there for somebody focused on laptop, and the ever-changing landscape of endpoints, and we took a quick, fresh approach towards how can we design. Since I had a privilege of designing something new. When you start a company, it's always so fresh. It's always so, you don't have any upgrades, you don't have any pain point, you don't have any existing customers, so you can start fresh. So we started with a blank canvas to come up with these points. The first and foremost point was simplicity, which we internally call the pizza factor. The backup should be up and running within 30 minutes. You order a pizza, before the pizza comes in, your backup should be done. And that's how I'm going to do today. Right here, I'll boot a server on Amazon, I'll deploy the backup, deploy dedupe, deploy everything, and the backup should be done for anybody out here in the presentation. And the second point was low bandwidth and low storage utilization, which clearly means dedupe here. One optimization, simple and fast restore. I saw in the morning presentation differential and incremental backups. Those just don't make sense today. It should be simple as search and restore. Just search for some file and simply restore it. And the last point being linearly scalable. It should really scale well for enterprises. One of the big bottlenecks we see is when solutions start scaling for a larger company, you see the dedupe performance going down over time, or the database starts grow or anything. So, the linear scalability is really important for enterprises with large number of users. So, with this, we have something called NSYNC, the Druva NSYNC. We tried not to follow the strategy of, backup exec, net backup, or, the backup X, Y, Z. We call our products NSYNC, and the new one is called now Phoenix. So NSYNC is just, a soft solution over, which backs up your data from multiple laptops to a centralized server. The entire size of the software stack, including server and client, is just 40 MB. It does not require any database, does not require any web server, does not require any email server. It's all inclusive. It does dedupe, it does everything in just 40 MB. So if you search Exchange backup, there are about 1 million people searching for Exchange backup, right? But the first page of Google, all you see is how to do it, the best practices. Nobody says, download the damn stuff right now and back it up. Right? So here we are strongly pitching to the customers saying 40 MB, just try it. And just a 20-minute simple install, no other supporting application required, completely automated deployment. You can see how we can add multiple active directories and completely automate the deployment. 2,000 laptops to be supported for single server. It's one thing to build or design a software for a bunch of servers to send you 10 terabyte, 15, 20 terabyte. It's a completely different thing to have thousands of laptops parallelly sending you different stuff. The design has to be different. So we designed it to scale thousands of laptops per single server, still do dedupe, support multiple platforms, Windows, Linux, virtual physical client support, Windows, Mac, Linux, and now we're supporting iPads. So here comes next, the secret sauce. What makes us unique? Simplicity is one part of it, but the entire secret sauce, what makes us so compelling is, number one, our approach to deduplication. It's global source-based deduplication, real-time, thousands of laptops being deduplicated from the source. What's more, it's not block-based, it's not variable block-based. We think those technologies do not work on complex file formats. You will see a lot of large guys talk about dedupe ratios, 1:300, 1:400, 500,000. That is completely against information theory. You cannot compress anything 1:300. What if I give the dedupe data again back? Can you again compress it? No.
Wait.
So we talk.
Slow down a little bit, back up.
Okay.
Slow down just a
I
little
think
bit.
he's using the slider in QuickTime right here.
Okay.
Go back about 1 minute and start. You say you can't.
So I'm saying we don't want to be bullish about dedupe ratios here, and you cannot talk about dedupe ratios for every single data type. It's against information theory. You cannot have 1:3 information theory.
Theory.
Yes.
Thank you.
So you cannot have everything compressed 1:300.
Okay.
So what we claim here is dedupe accuracy. That given two files, Outlook files, or given two data formats, we can have 100% accurate dedupe data. And how we do it, block-based or variable block-based cannot do it. If you look at a website called libpst, or you look at the latest spec by Microsoft for Outlook, every single block of Outlook is fixed size, number one. There's no variable sizing. Number two, every single block has a header and a footer, about 16 byte in size. The average block size in PST is about 4 KB. So if you choose a 4 KB or an 8 KB variable fixed block size approach, you cannot get duplicate data more than 35–40% accurate if you follow this approach. We've been following the same variable-based approach so far, but now, since last version, we've changed our approach to something called app-aware dedupe, which means the average block size could be 4 KB in a PST, but it's 78 KB for every single email. So if we get those APIs from Microsoft to actually understand the message boundaries, or in other words, they compute the variable block sizes with just the API level at what a message means and what an attachment means. There are 87 message types in an Outlook file. If you understand them, you do a 100% job of deduplicating data on an Outlook. 97% of our customer data is either Office document or Outlook. And if you understand this data well, you can actually do a very good job of deduplicating. Now, how heavy is this technology? How complicated it is? So variable-based technology requires your rolling checksum. Could be could be a simple polynomial checksum, or could be MD4, could be MD5. Now, this rolling checksum needs to figure out in your data, and based on a heuristics, the maximas and minimas of how you can divide the data into blocks. It's simple. It's heuristics, but it's probability. There's no guarantee you're going to find the same block boundaries. The early technology used to use a magic byte. They used to find I'm sorry, if I go fast, a magic indexes, then you went heuristics. But all these approaches are just probability. And why they exist? Because of the same old tar format, the same old rsync format of treating data as byte streams. Now, we had the liberty to go back and change some stuff. So this app-aware approach looks at the data sizes, figures out message boundaries, and deduplicates data across data sources. So if you have a MP3 file in your Outlook and have the same MP3 file embedded in my PPT, it can figure it out. The object, the meaningful information being duplicated across different sources. And a simple very fact that if you change the extension of PPTX to .zip and open it, you can see everything inside. It's just a zip archive. So a lot of this data, you can actually work with Microsoft, or happen to explore it further to figure out those objects. And we don't have to go through the rolling checksum approach or MD4, MD5 approach here to figure out the block boundaries. We know it from the API. When we find these objects, we know these objects are compressed or not compressed, and then use SHA checksums to quickly figure out duplicates. It's simple, it's fast, and it really scales well, and we can guarantee 100% deduplicates. Any questions here so far? So we support, it's a good question, we support Outlook, all the versions of Outlook, we support all the versions of Office documents, we support PDFs, and we support JPEGs, which is nearly about 97–98% of our data. So in future, this technology can be scaled. Internally, we have seen tests, we have done tests to scale it to Exchange, SQL, VMware. It works, but we need to get a 40 MB installer for those kind of, that kind of product for us to have a strong gut feel of selling it. So we'll keep it undercover. Any questions, Curtis? I thought you were going to ask something.
No, he just knows that you're sitting there thinking.
Okay. So this solves the bandwidth issue for laptops. The second biggest issue is the what do you call the latency issue. So those on 3G cards know that stuff can be downloaded, but it can be the latency will not allow you to play games, right? Real-time games. So that's a latency issue. So to beat the latency, we do a simple thing, very simple thing. About 7 to 8 years back, we all had Download Accelerator Plus or some kind of tool which used to break the files into smaller parts and then get them in parallel. Surprisingly, backup still happens single-threaded. So we don't do it. We break the files or take multiple files to do a multi-threaded backup, which means we, number one, for every single network we connect to, figure out the optimal packet size. Number two, start as good as 16 different threads over a single socket. The socket still remains same, but they are asynchronous threads over the same socket to do a backup over the WAN or any network to the server. So this means if you're in a fast Wi-Fi network backing to your corporate server, you may not have more than 2 threads with working almost synchronously with bigger packets, lesser compression. If you go over a 3G connection, you will have more number of threads, smaller packets, and probably higher compression. So this entire modulation just makes sure your backup doesn't break. And if it breaks, for a server, it's a question of, if the backup breaks, it's a question of consistency, application-wide consistency for servers. For laptop, it's actually not. So and thankfully, Windows 7 and Windows Vista have a persistent snapshots now. So we snapshot, and we can actually resume the backup if the person hops networks. This way, he doesn't have to scan his entire system or do a backup again. So and what's more is if required, and which is most of the case, the admin can actually throttle the bandwidth by 10% over WAN and 50%, 1 MB over the WAN or LAN. So you can put a smart limit of a percentage limit over the bandwidth, or you can simply say 5% of CPU and never back up over battery. So simple rules to make sure it's just completely non-intrusive. And simple facts like the laptop, when it boots up, it doesn't do a backup. It waits 15 minutes to let you start your work and then do a backup. So small stuff, just to make sure it's just non-intrusive for the end user. And the last part is simplicity. As I said, I'm going to show you the 40 MB download and 30-minute install time of this backup software. And this is, I believe, the most interesting part. What's more, when I was in Veritas, there was a joke saying we are paid to backup, not restore. So, we have 6 ways of restoring the same data. I'm going to boot a small application like this, do a search-based restore. You can see all the CDB snapshots of my data, including my Outlook files. I can go down and get my file what I want, no incremental differential, or simply search and get my data. If I'm not on a PC, I can open a browser to get the same data access. Not on the browser, I can open my iPad and iPhone, get the same data access. So I pull out my iPad in a meeting and say, hey, I got a call saying, hey, I need a so-and-so file. I pull out the file, search for the data, pull out my iPad, search for data, find the file, which I've backed up from my PC, corporate PC, maybe email it, maybe just look it up. So,
Droid.
Sorry?
Droid.
Yeah, so that's coming up next. We're a startup, we got to keep a focus. The problem we faced is, there's HTC, there's multiple players starting up Droid stores, so that's next. And Droid is actually more open about, the APIs are more open about data access than iPhone. So we are there, coming there.
On the iPad, does iPad see you? Like if I want to save documents to, actually I answered my question by asking it.
Well, that was nice of you.
You're backing up what iPad sees on its native file system, so it's not like a Dropbox.
Not really, so we don't back up iPads. iPads are good read-only devices. So
You need to back up iPads. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So backups so far have been good read-only devices.
But it's not a read-only device.
I know, but
Okay.
so far they've been good read-only devices, and now we can see a lot of data being churned out there. We solved the data access problem, and what is next is the data backup problem. So what we've solved is just data access. So your corporate laptop is completely backed up. Every single document, you can just pull out your iPad, search for it, and see it on a corporate-wide network. And tomorrow, this could be used for...
Well, the iPad piece is just a client into your files.
Yes.
Can you save to it from that thing?
Can I save stuff on my...
iPad to this.
No, you cannot save stuff, so the reverse doesn't work, the backup doesn't work. We don't have the backup yet.
You have to save it locally on your device and then let the agent take over backing it up at a certain when it's done.
Yeah.
I am dying to announce the world, the first company that actually backs up iPads. So.
Now,
Yeah, we'll do it. We're the first one, for sure.
will it handle certain applications that have their own independent file systems like Goodreader? where-
Not really, but that's something which we're facing. So in iPads and iOS, no app can look into other apps' file system.
Okay, but would you see that like as a block level thing or?
You just don't have an access to another app.
Okay, so it'll back up your actual iPad, it just won't back up like VLC videos and things like that.
You cannot. You can actually have access to photographs. The native Apple content you have access to, but the non-native Apple content you don't have an access to yet on iOS. So, so an app in an app in iPad does not have access to another app's data.
Oh, yeah.
So you can only have access to the native Apple data.
Does that mean you're gonna have to wait until Apple gives you some kind of special API or something in order to access it?
I think the Apple is already, there is a native Apple file system which some apps can choose to use, and we'll bank on that anything which goes on the common shared file system is what will back it up. So the content on Apple, and there's actually a much bigger iPad story. Let me just talk about right now. So I think what I'll demonstrate now is a backup play. I would demonstrate how we can set up a backup and do the backup in 30 minutes. But there's a much bigger story Druva is planning. Just not backup, but it's just not backup. And CIOs are churning out iPads. Their worry is not the backup, not just the backup. Their worry is just backup, but also the general data being available on the iPad. So Druva is planning a much bigger story on not just backup, but let's say corporate-wide risk assessment of remote data wipe-off or data trace, or Mobile Me does it, but it's on a user level. It's again like moving my stuff to my local device and not having beer, right? So it doesn't work for corporate users. So we are building a strong story in terms of not just backup, but moving towards.
Not having what?
It just mentioned. I mean, the analogy was.
I didn't understand your analogy.
So, the Mobile Me service does a user level stuff of remote trace, remote delete, whatever. The corporate level control over users' data, remotely wiping it off, encrypting it, getting an access, and automating entire stuff, and not leaving the user to make choices is what we'll focus on.
So let me ask you something. If you look at services like Gmail and corporate Gmail, right, with Google Apps and other things, if you have your email up with Google, you can practically download it on your Mac or your Windows or on your iPad or your iPhone.
Yes.
And it's still one consistent copy that you get. If I'm sending an email from here, I'm practically looking at the same send email on my iPhone.
Yes.
How do you compete with applications like those where you really don't need to back up your email?
So in the best possible world, if you say that everything is in Gmail or an Outlook and you don't need backup, I would believe you. It's not a question of your data, but if I take your laptop right now, you'll be down for next one day. It's also a loss of productivity, if not data, right? So we have seen a lot of people moving towards cloud, and that's a strong trend. But we see a lot of data, a majority of data still being a local cache, be it the usage of local applications, be it a productivity issue. That all the.
Sorry, I should have let you finish. But I agree with him, because I don't know why I'd be down for it.
I can.
Because if it's in Gmail, if it's in, the only way you're going to get it is some kind of thing, right? So if it's in Gmail or if it's in Exchange, I can get to it via this or via anybody's laptop.
I'm sorry. So did you mean the backup problem or the iPad problem?
No,
the
just
iPad.
the email problem, right? I mean, why do I don't back up my email anymore.
Yeah. So he was mentioning about the backup stuff. Why should he back up his laptop?
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with him.
Okay. So it's a productivity issue. If I take your laptop away, or you may be in the top of the pyramid, but then general enterprise user, although there is a trend towards enterprise, we see a lot of data still on the laptop.
The data,
Yes.
but not email data.
Not email data, right?
So, for example, in Veritas, being worked in only one large company myself, or other large company like even PwC, our customer, they only have 1 GB quota in their enterprise Exchange server.
Does that, and I think he should be fired. But anyway, go ahead.
So-
You're right. Keep going.
So,
I think I see the argument here, though. You're right. If I have email on my laptop, I don't necessarily care about whether or not it's backed up, because if I use Exchange, there's a copy on a local server. If I use Gmail, it's in the cloud. But if, like, my laptop is back at the hotel room, I probably have 10 gigabytes worth of Office documents that I don't have anywhere else. And that's what you're targeting,
Yeah,
that kind of backup.
Agreed, but just,
So not only the data, time it takes you to get back to a running state that you were before.
Yeah, because if I lost that data on my laptop, I
Yeah.
would be in real trouble.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason we all back up our computers today. I think it's just,
Yeah.
even though we all use exchanges and Google and stuff, I think we all typically have a backup of, Time Machine or whatever else, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. And on the email side, we see, although in the ideal world, everything should be on the cloud or in the exchange, but a lot of large companies in all practical cases have the data, just 1 GB on exchange and everything else locally. It's probably the exchange scalability or whatever. But yeah, we see a lot of customers. So about 80% of our data which we back up from our customers is actually email data.